Yeah. If you can see the mood, try to get a point. Zoom in a little bit because I can't really see it. And that's the sun. Wherever it is. Yeah. And that's the sun. And that's the moon. How, Sway? I know some of the commenters gonna come up with something. Oh, well, you see, what happens is when the Earth is, it's bending light around the. Get the hell out of here! What happens is it's the curvature of the light in the space-time continuum. It makes the Earth's shadow kind of make a quantum bend around Jupiter, and what happens is we buy into the program and we remove ourselves without even knowing it most of the time from the systems that are actually beneficial for our health, beneficial for our relationships, beneficial for personal relationships, your psyche, your body, your soul, like stuff that you wouldn't even realize that were within your ability to do, because the mechanisms within the society are so based upon trying to get by, trying to, you know, just look a certain way, feel a certain way. Sometimes we don't even question the very basic nature of our reality, because it's all been done before, supposedly. So we don't ask questions about our reality because so-called powers that be are so super smart, and they're so reliable and dependent on, or they're so all-knowing that they can't be wrong. Evolution from monkeys, it can't be wrong. There's science. The sun is 93 billion miles away. Why? Because science. The moon has a shadow on it from the earth. It's been proven by science. Science is it's like the fix-it for everything. It's the one-size-fits-all answer to any question that you have. And it's not saying that science is not relevant. What I'm saying is that any kind of numbers or magic or observations of your reality can be sold to you in a particular way. They can be sold to you to work for you, or they can be sold to you to work against you. And if you just ask like basic questions of like, do you really believe that the way society is being run today, is it for the benefit of the people, or is it for the benefit of the few? And that's where it really boils down to, is this haves and have-nots program. Or it's not about the micro separations that we observe, like race and all that other stuff. Like I said in previous videos, your culture and your race matters. It's a part of your positive framework if you utilize it correctly. It's the way it's being programmed. But if you use it, or it's being used against you, then you're not really going to make the best of it. You're not going to tap into who and what you are, and it's actually going to work against you, not only individually but on your whole family. It starts to affect everything. Everything that you think you are is being given to you by somebody else. The Columbian era, so-called Christopher Columbus discovering the New World, and like telling you, oh yeah, since we are the most evolved monkeys in the universe, according to Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson, they all believe in monkey evolution. They all believe in the Big Bang. They all believe in the theory of gravity and the theory of relativity. They all believe in all the stuff that their forefathers. That's the whole thing. It's like you have forefathers. They call you forefathers of the Western civilization. They put their faces on the mountainside. That's a statement. It's not a celebration. That's a statement. Mount Rushmore, it's a statement to the world. It was a statement to the Native Americans. It's a statement to civilization, so-called civilization, Western civilization as a whole. Is we can do whatever the hell we want. We took this shit over, made everybody slaves, pretty much fucked the world. And if you say anything about it, we're just gonna bomb your ass. And if you're not taken out like physically, we'll just call you crazy. You're just crazy. So anybody who questions Western civilization, scientism, anybody who questions that world, you'll be demonized. You'll be discredited in some kind of way. And that program runs so deep that we don't even, we have people who defend it. And like I was telling my pops and my sister just now, I was like, look, okay, basic observations of your reality. You can still kind of see the moon up there. I don't know if you can see it still. It's like right here. Something like that, like right there. I can't zoom in on this tablet because then I have to like, or flip the screen because it'll flip the camera. Anyway, what was I saying? Questioning your reality. So anyway, yeah, I was asking them that question. That's what it was. I was like, look, basic observation of your reality. The moon is right there. The sun is right there, right directly overhead. Like you can see it right there. So the sun's right here, the moon's right there. We're right here. If the sun is right there and the moon's right there, yeah, right there, and that crescent in that moon is supposedly caused by the Earth's shadow, the spherical Earth shadow. How? How's that going on? How's that happening? Somebody got questions. Somebody got answers for that. Everybody got answers for that. But not many people just sit there and observe. And that's like, their response was kind of like how my response is or was to flat earth. All the other flat earth clues and all that other stuff was just like, you know, that makes a lot of sense. But we don't even allow ourselves to get into that point to ask those questions that actually make sense, because if you even entertain something like that, you're sitting in a space of crazy. You're sitting in a space of something's wrong with you. You're sitting in a space of, well, you know, it's already been proven and understood by the forefathers of this creation. That's how they make gods and kings out of themselves. That's the whole point, is to make gods and kings out of the people who write these history books. That's why they say, like, history books are written by the people who win those wars. So if you constantly make a program, or you constantly make a civilization, so-called civilization, because it's not civilization if the system is based upon war. It's not civilized. You have to understand that. This is not civilization. And that's the thing that, it doesn't really frustrate me, but it gets into the point sometimes where it's like, well, we need to get some solid points down and just be like, look, this is going on. For one thing, the science that's given to us is not the almighty word of the universe. If you can't ask questions, like, it's like teachers. If you can't ask teachers questions, teachers learn from their students. But if scientism is sold to you, they're teaching you. You have to learn it as a student. So it's a classroom. We're in the classroom of scientism right now. And we're in the classroom of Western civilization. We're in the classroom of the new world. We're in the classroom of everything that's taught to us in the university system. And the teachers are people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Bill Nye, Michio Kaku. Ray Kurzweil, Carl Sagan, all these people who just are basically, like they say, we're human civilization is just a speck in the sands of time, just one piece of dust in the entire sands of time in the entire universe. Well, this Western civilization is just a speck of shit in the whole sands of intellect when you include the Mayan civilization, the Egyptian or the Cometian history, the pyramids, all of these ancient structures, the ancient sciences where they still haven't answered any of these questions. All of that stuff is not even up for debate because they don't entertain it. And so we kind of act like it doesn't matter or it doesn't exist, when if you were to go down to Peru, into Sacsayhuaman and Machu Picchu, or into the pyramids, a lot of the answers that we're looking for are going to be answered when we start asking the right questions. And we can't start answering the right questions until we stop asking the wrong questions. That's the whole point with a lot of flat earth stuff, and people call themselves truthers and conspiracy theorists and all this stuff. It's like, you'll be so bombarded by the wrong questions that you will never allow yourself to focus enough to ask the right questions. And some of the right questions are basic, and then you can just put them in your little toolbox, or put them in your little weaponry, or your little just like think tank, and then add to it as you go. But for in reference to like the pyramids, all right, well, you got people debating about when the pyramids were built, when it's a known fact that the society as a whole, scientism as a whole, has no answers for how they were built. If you were to start to put pressure on how they were built and ask those questions from a perspective of, all right, well, let's not, because a lot of the information that we would use to ask those questions of how this stuff was, or when it was built, is going to come from the system. They have all that technology and all those instruments and all that stuff, carbon dating and all that stuff. That's all still filtered through the system. But we have to start asking our questions that don't need to be filtered through the system, and start asking those, like, sit in our truth, like sit in your truth, and just be like, well, look, they don't have any answers for us. They don't have any answers that are trustworthy, because it's only beneficial for the system. They only care about themselves. So what questions can we answer to help people realize that this system has nothing to do with the benefit, the well-being of you as the individual, as you as a culture, as you as a family, as you as sovereign beings, human beings, as you as a being in a relationship with your soul, the physical relationship with the non-physical relationship, the subconscious with the conscious, the soul with the body, the mind with the soul with the mind with the body. Like, all these questions are not even asked or even answered, because we didn't even know we had to ask those questions, because we're so bombarded by the shit that we're told to focus on. And a lot of these so-called truthers are doing the same thing. Like, when you really boil down a lot of these questions that are getting asked, you when you get a lot of these questions, you get man, I got thrown off my train of thought. A lot of these questions that are being asked, they're very relevant. Obviously, they're very relevant. But how I see it is that when you start to empower yourself is when you start asking and answering your own questions. and not relying on a system or waiting on a program to give you validation. And that's the long route to get to any kind of, question or answers, but it's the most deeply rooted, because, and that's the thing, it's not only you asking and answering these questions, it's you opening yourself up to being comfortable with not knowing the answers, to being comfortable with, saying, well, this system has been around for a while. It might be the biggest, it's like a giant. It's a big ass giant. And you're just like a little, I guess it would be like the David and Goliath story, but really, I don't know too much about those stories. I just know he was a giant, Goliath, and David was a little dude. So that's who you are. You're like a little dude. You're just like this little soul asking questions about your reality. And you have this superpower called Western civilization, or even like your mother and your father, people who are younger, people who are watching this video, or when you were growing up, like, you couldn't question the reality that was given to you by your parents. You couldn't question the reality that was given to you by the authority figures of the school system. You can't question the reality that's prepackaged to you by the university system and the mainstream media. You can't do any of that stuff. It's like literally off limits. It's like you're living off limits. You're living in a reality that is off limits. Everything is based upon limitation. When they made the Big Bang, they made the Big Bang meant for a mental enslavement, to make it look like you're just an accident. You have no meaning in your purpose. So we're going to give you the meaning and purpose that you need to exist in the reality that we had prepackaged for you to believe in, living in the first place. You're welcome. Oh, you got something to say about that shit? All right, here, lock your ass up. All right, take you out. All right, we'll do whatever it is that they're gonna do to discredit or discourage a thought pattern outside the authority figure program. And heliocentrism is, in my opinion, like one of the main pieces out there that keeps you from asking those questions that get you closer to yourself. Like I said in the previous video, is flat earth your savior? Hell no. It's nothing. When you really boil it down, flat earth ain't shit. It's like, flat earth is nothing if you don't do anything with it. If you just set it up, that's in relation to like the human story that I'm constantly talking about and bring up, is because, like, if you don't, it's like having a tool belt full of these tools that you can use for your benefit, that you can use for learning and understanding and growth. You can use these tools not only for you right now, but for the benefit of your children and your children's children. And if we get so locked up in how we think, like what's going on right now, the timeline that gets presented to us by these timekeepers, these timekeepers are the ones who really lock us into how to think, how to dress, how to act, how to sing, how to raise your children. Everything is packaged for you. And that's literally manipulating time. Like, time is being manipulated through your consciousness, through your your lack of consciousness, through your lack of asking questions. Like in your dreams, when you're dreaming, in one dream you had a week ago, you faced this demon, and this demon scared the shit out of you, and you're just like, I'm getting the hell out of here. You move into another dream, you made the decision to run away and not face it. So since you are the creator of that entire world, that universe of the subconscious dream realm, you actually jump into another dream. But in the conscious reality, in the conscious realm, that happens on thoughts, that happens in experiences, and that happens in the moment and over this linear time frame. So when you don't face things now, when you don't face things that are part of your reality today, they will get passed down through your soul timelines. They'll get passed down, and then your kids are going to have to deal with that. Your kids are going to have to deal with all this stuff. You can see this on I mean, people know this. So one of the main constructs that keeps people from going outside of the dream that gets presented to us by these scientism pushers is locking ourselves into their illusions. We get locked into their nonsense. We get locked into their time loop. That's what it is. It's a time loop. So once we limit ourselves to their time loops, then you're giving your dreams away. You're giving your life away. You're giving your experience away. And to who? Like I said earlier, to who are you giving this energy to? Who are you giving this experience to? Who are you giving your existence to? You're giving your existence away to people who say there's no meaning and purpose for your existence. You're giving your existence away to people who say you're just a cosmic piece of dust. You're just a nothing. You're an accident. You shouldn't even, like, you basically shouldn't even have been here right now, because all of this just came from, gravity creating a situation. Gravity creating a situation. And what? Nothing? Accident? Oops. Monkeys. Oops. Humanity. Oops. Mussels. Oops. Clams, oysters, fish, zebra, lion, Pumbaa, and Timon. Like all the intricacies of this place. There's no creative intelligence here. So when you want to boil it down, like I boil it down regularly, is to the creative and the destructive intelligence. So the creative and the destructive intelligence is you tuned in. No limitations. Not limited by the, that's cold. Not limited by societal constructs. Not limited by individuals' thoughts about who and what you are and how you should be, not limited to like just not limited. I mean, you have limitations, obviously. That's not to say that something's wrong with limitations. The conscious reality is a limitation in itself. The body, the physical body, is a limitation in itself. It has a meaning and a purpose. So, what for is my point. Like, what? I don't know if you're gonna still be able to hear me. I'm gonna start thinking. So, like, what for is my question, and you're not even allowed to answer that question, because they tell you they got it all figured out. So to live your waking life in a world that says you don't even have to think, you don't even have to act, you don't have to do shit. We thought of everything for you. Your reality is said and done. In fact, you're just nothing. You're just an accident. So don't even bother with anything. Just shut your mouth, go to work, and don't worry about nature, because technology is it. That's it. The Western civilization, as it's sold to you, one of the main mechanisms that make you believe in it, just like people defend to the umpteenth degree. They will defend heliocentrism. Houseway. They will defend the works of their own slave masters, because who they think they are is so locked in to what their slave masters think of them. So when your slave masters think you're crazy because you ask questions about the nature of this earth, the basic scientific makeup of your existence, then you're questioning the people that think for you. And when you do that, you're completely vulnerable, because you have no legs to stand on. You have no mind. You've given your mind away. You've given your reality away. And that's when you're locked into the artificial grid, the synthetic reality. It's when you say, look, I'm not even going to allow myself to question this experience anymore. In fact, I'm going to defend it. That's like negative gears. It's like shifting backwards in reverse. Time passing doesn't mean evolving. It doesn't mean learning. That's like the difference between being old and being wise. Being old don't make you wise. Time passing and hip-hop expanding into what it is today doesn't make it evolve. Because if you ask me, and if you ask other hip-hop, classic hip-hop people, they'll say hip-hop is actually de-evolved. And if you ask the same question about humanity, it's the same thing. You ask certain people, look at the pyramids, look at Machu Picchu, look at all this that's going on that we call normal. And you gotta ask yourself, have we really evolved, or have we just been playing the same song over and over again and changing the tone here and there, just like all these smartphones, to make it look like something has changed. And the reason why that story can continue to be played over and over again is because at the heart of everything, at the foundation, people do not question their reality. People do not question the authority or the questions that get put out by this system on purpose. And this is why Flat Earth is such a threat to this reality, or the Western civilization as a whole, is because it's, like I said, Flat Earth don't matter if you don't do anything with it. But what Flat Earth does is it makes you think for yourself on some of the most important issues of society, of civilization, of your reality. And that's the kicker. Is that once you start thinking for yourself, what else is going to be taken down? What else is going to be questioned? What else in your reality can you question? Because if you question your reality enough, you'll question yourself right out of that limited reality. And you'll answer yourself through the silence, because you have to go there first. You have to hit that middle point and start to ask the questions. It's a shifting from the external to the internal. Everything in this Western civilization is externalized. How you think of your relationship, your partner, your so-called success, your life, your parents, everything. Everything is about outside of you. Heliocentrism, it's all about the body, the physical, the materialistic fabric of reality. Nothing is about the inside. In fact, the closest thing that the mainstream reality has to something on the inside is mainstream religions. And even that is filtered through a materialistic platform on the mainstream circuit when you look at how these churches are just taking advantage of people, how these priests are taking advantage of the children. All of this is because they're doing the most ultimate jacked up things in reality. It's the worst of the worst. And it's all about this limitation and keeping you from going truly inward. If you're going inward through a book, through a cult, through another person, through a savior of some sort, through something outside of yourself, you're going, that's a mechanism to get you to a certain point. That's why I said, not like a lot of this stuff is like completely bad. You can get some good things out of the Bible. You can learn some good things from people who ultimately like really just want to take advantage of you. You can learn some things from them. And that's the whole thing, is like, if you don't learn how to get out of that situation when the time comes, then their magic worked. Their magic worked on you. And it's up to you to figure it out, like what's the next step. But a lot of people don't want to do that because you're vulnerable. And you have to, when you're in that space, you have to reset. That's the frequency mechanism up these upturns and these downturns, is to, if you just live linearly, that's not any kind of experience. It's garbage. And how I see that is like for people who, that's like believing just like the scientism community, you're locked in time. It's just a tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. It's a linear construct. It's based upon death, because you convince yourself of a beginning, and if you convince yourself of a beginning and an ending, which is the main thing, is like you're gonna die. If you convince yourself of an ending then you really have no purpose. This is why fear is so amplified in society today. This is why horror movies and all this stuff is so amplified in society today, is because they need to remind you of your death. They need to remind you of your fear of death. They need to remind you of your not having any meaning and purpose. Of your just being that's the main thing in movies, is when they make horror movies and all that stuff, they wanna that's existing to convince you it's not so bad. Hey, what's going on right now? It's not so bad. It could be like the It movie. It could be like Aliens. It could be like Independence Day. It could be like Armageddon. It could be like, all this other nonsense they put on television to make to make you think you're being entertained. They don't give a shit about your entertainment. They care about mind controlling you. It's all about mind control. Everything. Heliocentrism, the university system, the labeling of indigenous people and aboriginal people as primitive and savage, the sexualization of the divine feminine, the sexualization of little kids, the whole society as it's sold to you on television is sick. It's sick. And that's another like wedge that you can use to wedge yourself out of that trap, is to start asking yourself, like, look around at where the power of your oppressor lies. Where the power of your oppressor comes from. How does it affect your reality? And what is it surrounding? Like, look at Hollywood. Look how sick Hollywood is. Look at the public education system. It's all about conformity and authority. Does it have anything to do with the expansion of your consciousness, the connection of you to your family and friends? That they tell you that, oh, it's good, you can have relationships with kids and in school, and it's good for your growth to have kids growing up in the public education system. They tell you all this stuff. They make you think like, oh yeah, this is the way it's supposed to be. It's not the way it's supposed to be. It's the way it's supposed to be in the world of limitation. And the world of limitation has nothing to do with the expansion of consciousness, the healing of the human condition as it is today, the well-being of generations over time. It has all to do with authority. It has all to do with the imprisonment of your soul, your mind, and your body. Look at technology. Look at like simple things like planned obsolescence. Things that are actually built to fail. Toys, gadgets, computers, cars. Everything is built to fail. It has an expiration date. So, do you think they give a shit about nature? Do they give a shit about, the resources? No. None of this is taken into account. None of this matters. So, what are we really doing here? Like, instead of asking these far out questions about, when the pyramids were built, that stuff will come on its own. We'll answer those questions in their own time. In fact, those are the kinds of answers that just come naturally when you're relying on yourself, going inward. I know it's kind of like abstract to say that, but that's coming from my own experience, is that some of the most important things that you think are important right now aren't really that important, and they're actually connected to bigger storylines. And once you start asking questions of those bigger storylines, that's when you start to answer those questions that you spent all this time and focus on, and still giving your energy away to other people asking and answering those questions for you. And you could have been spending that time asking and answering questions that you can actually answer from the inside out. Like I was saying, that actually empowers yourself. This is just to give my perspective on, you know, how I approach my channel, my work, and how I'm seeing a lot of other people ask and answer these questions, and where your power truly lies. It really ain't got nothing to do with a lot of the stuff that's, you know, hip or trendy or commercialized. All of this stuff it's a distraction. It's a distraction from your focus. Because like I said, you go up and down in this frequency of learning and being vulnerable. So you learn something, you hit that peak, you think you know it all, and then boom, you drop down in some kind of way. Something happens, you learn something else, something expands. It's an everlasting expansion. At the same time, you have that linear construct that goes on and on and on. It's a purpose, like the difference between the conscious and the subconscious. The subconscious is all over the place, up and down, all over the place, but it has an average, which is your experience, you the dreamer. So in like a dream, it's all over the place. Boom, boom, you have all these dreams all over the place. But that has a meaning and a purpose. It's chaotic and all over the place, but it has a meaning and a purpose. For what? And that's the answers, that's the questions and answers of your reality or existence as a whole. At the same time, when you wake up in the morning, you exist in this materialistic realm that if you're walking somewhere and you fall, you bust your head open, it's going to take some time for you to heal. Time. It's going to take time to learn things. It's going to take time to release things. It's going to take time to address things and expand. And this materialistic realm has a meaning and a purpose that is in perfect balance with the non-physical reality. As the person, as the being that you are. How I see it, your soul vibration will determine how you experience your reality. Because it's about how you interpret your reality just as much as the reality approaches or faces you. So if you are constantly believing in your reality as it's sold to you by people who don't give a shit about you, then you you don't matter. There's no reason for you to live. There's no reason for you to exist, because you've given your whole life away to somebody else. It's like the Stockholm syndrome. It's like you start to love your oppressor. You start to love eating dog shit. You start to love what they call soul food. They're like that double back of soul food. You think that's soul food? That's heart condition food. That's diabetes food. Look at the food that they sell your kids. Look at the food that you was eating, like walking home from school, going to the liquor store, eating hot fries and a 75-cent thing of salami. That was dinner. Some top ramen. That's not even like food. It's plastic, it's styrofoam. You think they care about you? No, there's an actual system. It's a design. For the have-nots to get sick and die, poison themselves, and not question reality, and for the haves to get more healthy. This is why organics are so expensive. And cheap food that'll make you sick, make you lose your memory, make you destructive, make you fat, make you tired, make you dead, make you die quicker. All this stuff Just stop right there and ask and say, you know, something is wrong with this. All right, without thinking of anything else, put that on the shelf and look at all the other things that you have asked and answered like that question. And put all that stuff on the shelf and look at that shelf. You'll realize that that entire shelf is not just a shelf anymore. It's an entire library of Western civilization as a whole. All right, well, I'm gonna close it out now. I just wanted to share a little bit about how I was feeling while I was in this natural setting in reference to like flat earth and all the stuff that I've been talking about on this channel. Kind of share the natural surroundings. Dinosaur. So, thank you for joining me, and until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.